kindly set up Game Night so we can discuss it.
Okay, Game Night is a movie starring Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams are the two main stars.
Yes.
And also, Kyle Chandler, who you may have seen Kyle Chandler in things like Friday Night Lights. He was in, as the football coach. Rachel McAdams was in things like Doctor Strange. She's in a bunch of things. Jason Bateman is in a great show right now called Ozark on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It's kind of Breaking Badish a little bit. It's really good. But
this is why you're here, baby.
Yeah, that's
all
why
the
I'm
info.
here, man.
You're like an elephant, man. You have an awesome memory, bro. You add so much authenticity to the show.
Okay, basically it's about this couple, Max and Annie, played by Jason Bateman, like I said, Rachel McAdams, and they're highly fucking competitive.
Yes.
They're like the most competitive people you will ever meet in your fucking life. And they play board games. At their wedding, they're fucking playing Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes.
Like it's just like crazy fucking,
chemistry and competitiveness.
Yeah. But make a long story short, every week they have this game night. They got this game night
with them and their friends.
Yeah, with them and their friends. And, they play charades usually. That's how the movie's kind of set up. They imply they play other things too, but we get set up with charades.
Yeah.
And Jason Bateman, Kyle Chandler is Jason Bateman's brother in the movie, and he's one of them asshole brothers.
Yes.
Like, he one of them cocksuckers that will give you a compliment but put you down at the same fucking time.
Exactly.
Like he's...
I love your shirt, but it should have been green.
Yeah, like, but that's a great shirt. Did you get that from Bargains R Us or some bullshit?
Exactly,
It'll be some, there's always some smack in the face that's coming. Like, you gotta brace yourself for this motherfucker. And he's in town, and he always beats his brother in fucking everything, even though his brother's mad competitive. He always beats him in everything.
Right.
So he wants to put on game night one night. And during this night, he comes up with a special game. One of those fake but real murder mysteries.
Yeah, like Clue.
Those kidnapping mysteries.
Like
Clue.
Like Clue.
Or one of those things where he says someone will get kidnapped, blah, blah, blah. And you have to figure out who took the person. Well, it turns out what appears to be in the movie, I won't give too much away.
Yeah, no spoilers.
That, it appears that he really gets kidnapped. And this is all in the trailer. And the people think they're still playing a game.
Yep.
They think they're playing a game. and let me tell you something. That kidnapping is kind of rough, my nigga.
Yes, it is.
I ain't going to go into detail. That kidnapping is kind of rough.
Yeah.
Like, just punches to the face, and they just think it's great acting, the people there. Like,
exactly.
Oh, shit.
They're like, oh, my God, this is so well done.
And that launches them into their adventure, into hijinks and all this other shit, with thugs and hooligans and all types of wild shit. The thing about this movie that makes it interesting to me is that it has the beats of a horror film. It's a horror film. It's a horror film disguised as a comedy. Jesse Plemons, who I didn't mention yet, Jesse Plemons is their next door neighbor who's a cop. And if that's not a creepy horror, motherfucker, you ain't never seen one.
Listen, just before you continue, I loved his character. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite characters of the film.
Well, Jesse Plemons is always great. Once again, he was tied on Breaking Bad. He was also in Friday Night Lights as a player, so it's funny to see the coach who gets kidnapped. And Jesse Plemons was one of the players in Friday Night Lights. It's funny to see that connection.
It's funny,
again.
Yeah, it's funny.
But,
nerd shit.
Yeah, but, he's got like a white dog, like a pure white dog. And he's like a horror character. When you least expect it, he's just there.
Out of nowhere.
They even have a few moments in this movie that had jump scares.
Yes.
There's even a few moments that had jump scares in this movie. This parts of this movie where the music resembles horror film music for a second.
Yes, it does.
It is a horror film dressed up as a comedy.
Okay, now that we know what the story is about, I'm gonna start my review, and then Mo, you can add your thoughts. I thought Game Night was very entertaining from beginning to end. I thought the story was very well told, and I like the beats of the story. I thought, what's the word I'm looking for? The pacing of this film. I thought the pacing of the film was very well done. The way they put the two main characters as the couple, and the way they kind of developed that relationship, that marriage. I love the way they kind of crammed it together in such a short time, but you got the full scope of it. And that's not just excellent pacing, that's actually good, in my opinion. That's also good editing. The way this story plays out, like Mobius said, does play out like a horror film. And I really thought it was very well done. The acting was pretty good. And I just really enjoyed it. It was funny when it needed to be funny, and it was serious when it needed to be serious. And overall, like, the only thing I did not like about this film was the twists at the end, which obviously I'm not going to give away. But I just felt that the twists were just a little too much for me. But the film was so enjoyable, I was able to get past it. And that's really that's really like my only gripe about this film, is the way the twists kind of change. But once again, it was very enjoyable enough for me to just overlap it. So I liked it.
Okay. I agree. I completely agree with you with that. I think the reason they did that was, I don't know if they wrote an initial ending and it didn't test well.
Yeah.
It seems like that. It seems like they added stuff on, and they tried to. There's certain twists you might expect in a movie like this where it could go either way. And it seemed like they tried to give everybody the ending they wanted, so you really diminished what the ending could have been. Mm-hmm. That's what I got from the ending a little bit.
Yeah.
Overall, I agree with you. I really like the movie. I think there's a celebrity joke in there. I'm not going to give it away. Wait for it. That just killed me. There's a celebrity joke in this movie that just fucking, that has to do with the black characters, but that just fucking killed me in the movie. I thought that reveal was funny. And I think there's a lot of funny stuff in there. Like in the trailer. So like I said, this is a spoiler. You see that Jason Bateman gets shot in the arm. You see that in the trailer. Mm-hmm. That scene was really funny to me.
That scene was really funny.
And what led up to that scene is really funny to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like in this movie.
Yes.
I thought if they just toned down the end a little bit, and even some of the jokes at the end work. It just is trying to do too much. There's a conveyor belt joke that works.
Yes.
That really works very well.
Yeah, it's really good.
It really well, but it just
really
tries to do a little too much at the end. I would agree with you there.
I mean,
and it gets a little too over the top at times.
Yeah, it does.
When there are parts of the movie that seem a little realistic, and then it gets a little too slapsticky at certain points.
So I think the movie's flaw was the story, because the twist is that's the main point of the story, and I just think they went a little south for my taste. Mm-hmm. And I think as Mobius agrees with me, that's when the movie goes south, but it's enjoyable enough to bypass it, because overall it is a very good story. The pacing is good, the jokes are good, the horror is good, and it really does bypass some of the bullshit.
And a movie like this, because it is a comedy essentially, a lot of the jokes do land.
Yes.
And because of that, you still gonna enjoy it no matter how wild it gets, because a lot of the jokes do actually land. And a lot of them are very funny.
Yes.
Jokes in this movie.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are laugh out loud moments. There are moments I laughed out loud in the theater, and so so I do actually like this movie a lot. What would you give it?
We need to give people our rating system
Okay,
first.
this is our rating system. It's cold, which means the movie's fucking terrible. There's warm, which is it's alright, but it's more like a rental or watch at home thing. Don't go out and see it if it's a warm. Then there's hot. That's a recommendation. That's that's usually a pretty flawed film, but it's good enough where you could go see it and enjoy yourself. And it's like saying something has 3 stars almost. That's hot. Then there's straight fire. That might have a couple of flaws, but it's a really good movie overall. Mm-hmm. But it just has a few flaws in it. And then there's Volcanic, which, self-explanatory.
It's the name of our show.
It's the name of our show. And that's the hottest you can get and shit. You're as hot as this podcast. Not really, but kind of. So what would you give it out of that?
I give this movie a straight fire. I was leaning towards hot or straight fire, but I give it a straight fire. And the reason why I decided to give it a straight fire is because of the acting. I thought the acting was really good and cumbersome with everything.
The timing is fantastic.
Else.
The timing. Jason Bateman's one-liners in this movie. He's good at that. He's always been good at that.
Jason.
He's good. You can tell he's one of those dudes that you can tell ad-libs, but he doesn't overdo the ad-lib.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give you like a single line, and you're like, oh, he probably ad-libbed that,
right,
but it works.
Exactly.
And he's not going to overdo it and do some bullshit like go on and on and on and fuck up a scene.
Exactly. So the reason why I gave it straight fire is because that notch from fire to straight fire was because of the acting. As you guys know or may not know, it is very difficult to do a comedy and make it funny. It's very, very difficult.
One of the hardest things to do.
One of the hardest things to do in film, because you can write something and you can laugh, but seeing it on screen and have it actually develop for cinema is very difficult. So the fact that they landed that shows that the acting and the actors really, really cared about landing these one-liners and these jokes that kind of help support the film. So I give it straight fire.
Yeah. Also, everyone doesn't have the same sense of humor, so scripts get touched by a lot of people. And you got to go through a lot of executives before you greenlight. You have to go through a lot of executives, and so to greenlight a film, and then look at the ratio. Every year, I guarantee you've seen way more good dramas than comedies. That shows you how difficult they are to actually make. Mm-hmm. That shows you how difficult they are to actually make.
So what is your take on this film?
I actually agree with you. I give it a straight fire. I give it a straight fire because there's very little actually not to like in this film. Mm-hmm. I do think they tried to give everyone the ending they wanted at the end, and I think that's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah, that's where it went south for me too.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of a cop out. They should have maybe kept the story a little more simpler. Simpler would have been better with this story, but they tried to make it extra complex and we need a major twist. We need a twist on a twist. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't think they sounded like Prince, but like I just did. But you know what I'm saying? I resurrected that motherfucker last week. That's a different story, you know. That's another Illuminati story for another day. Mm-hmm. But had to play and everything and shit. But
that's funny.
Nah, I give it a straight fire. I think the cast is real good. Jesse Plemons steals every scene he's in as that cop. As their neighbor, he steals every fucking scene he's in.
Jesse is one of, if not my favorite character in the whole entire film.
In the movie, yeah. No, I would agree with that. He's great in this movie. Yeah, so I do love that. So yeah, I give it a straight fire as well. And so that's our first review